Hello everybody, Brad Johnson here. In this video I'm going to be bringing in Adronis, and Adronis is going to be discussing the topic, was Saturn once the Earth's sun? We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. Through this channeled transmission now, we will speak on the topic as it relates to that of, was Saturn once the Earth's sun? Not only was it the Earth's sun, but it was again part of much of your own inner planets as you understand now, their suns as well. You have to understand that originally, your entire star system was linked together with a trinary star system. Three particular stars: Saturn, the sun as you know it now, and Nibiru, which basically made up the triad, the trinary star system, and that Saturn itself once existed as a brown dwarf star. And throughout much in regards to your earlier ancient times, leading up into the point of the Golden Age, as we've stated, Maldek itself housed other satellites, and that these satellites represented that of Mars, Earth, Venus. These were again part of the satellites in regards to the orbits that revolved around Maldek. Originally, the first planet that revolved around your original sun, known as Saturn. So, yes, it is fundamentally true that Saturn was once your primary sun within your star, and that during that particular time to where Earth existed, the sun that you understand today was much further distant. So it did not have its own particular form of luminescent source as it does right now. Because of the Saturnian disaster that took place around the end of your ancient Golden Age, this is what related to the idea of Earth shifting orbits. And the idea in that sense pertaining to that Golden Age, to where it was starting to come to an end, was through the destruction of Maldek. And that through the destruction of Maldek, this is what caused shifts to take place. This is actually what caused Saturn to turn on its axis, was through the destruction of Maldek. And through upon the destruction of Maldek, its satellites therefore needed to take a different orbit, simply because its own central sun of Saturn at that time was compromised. Therefore, it tilted upon its own axis, and this actually led to what you could refer to as the death of the Saturnian star. Basically, this is what led the transformation from a golden age back into a dark age in that time, to where Atlantis was starting to come together, and therefore, through much of the intrusions upon the Atlantean civilization during that time from the Aryans that existed upon Mars, this could be referred to as the Dark Times, simply because it was no more different than how your European settlers settled upon North America when it was occupied by your Native Americans. It therefore led into a particular disaster and led into this idea of an empire. So the aspect of Atlantis was all about the idea of thriving in its earlier times. Thriving, community, cooperation, harmony, a golden age. And so, as Maldek was destroyed, based upon the internal war that it once faced, this again is what threw the entire solar system, shall we say, into a misalignment. And basically to salvage much of the quote-unquote experiments upon the neighboring planets, the satellites of Maldek, they were therefore changed into a different orbit that would therefore go to the second star, to what you know as your primary sun today. And so the orbits drastically changed. And through the destruction of Maldek, Earth itself went through an enormous cataclysm. Again, it would be no more different than how you would have it described within your Bible material, to where there was a great flood, to where there was much destruction upon the planet. And this was the first official disaster relating to Atlantis at that time. Atlantis went through 3 primary disasters. This was the first of the 3. And therefore, of course, in the times ahead, during the times to where the Aryans of Mars came upon your planet, a second disaster occurred shortly after the beginning of their reign, although not as intense as the first. This again caused more forms of what you would know as continental drift to take place. This is basically what you would know as the area of Antarctica that was much further up in the northern hemisphere, that after the aspect of the first disaster moved more into the central hemisphere. And then, of course, after the second disaster itself, it began to move further into around the area of the equator. And then, of course, around the third aspect of the disaster that took place, it began to shift itself further into somewhat of the area of the southern hemisphere. Then, of course, more changes took place over time, bringing that particular drifting into what you would know as a form of southern landmass that became sheeted with ice. But basically, going back to Saturn, from when it took place relating to its shifting of orbit, relating to the destruction of Maldek, it therefore again tilted upon its axis. And this is what led to the eventual death of the star. So again, to prevent destruction from happening from the neighboring planets, these planets were therefore repositioned by what you would know as a galactic superfederation. So the superfederation allies were able to link what you would know as extremely large motherships at the poles of each planet and being able to maneuver them over to the other neighboring star, that of what you would know as your primary sun today. So Saturn, in that sense, has been at the resolution, to the point now where its own shifting resolution has now transformed no more differently than how you would understand a pentagram that has now been shifted invertly. And this is again why Saturn has been seen in the idea of the states of ancient sacrifice, through the idea of feeling that sacrifices needed to be given to Saturn. So basically, through the shifting of Saturn and its own inversion as it happened, its own tilting of its pole, its own revolution in that way, this is what led to much of the Draco Empire to come together within your star system and basically dominate what was now known as your Golden Age sun, that represented that of Saturn. Therefore, because of this shifting of the pentagram, this is again what led to the aspects of much forms of trickery and delusions pertaining to the gods from heaven to earth come, that would therefore disguise themselves as the ancient gods and therefore demand sacrifices from much of the noteworthy leaders and kings, emperors upon your planet at that time. And therefore, this was all about giving that energy to the power of Saturn, now existing as an inverted pentagram. And so this is what has created much in regards to the, shall we say, shadow side, representing that of Saturn. So, basically, yes, Saturn was once part of a brown dwarf star that is basically now the result of a dying star. The aspect pertaining to its rings is the result of the effect in regards to geomagnetic instability. And that is what has caused the rings to form, through the aspect of, shall we say, misaligned degrees of magnetic cohesion. And basically has created this ring that may sound artificial in that nature, but in fact it is organic. The aspect of those rings are not mechanical by any particular means. It is not some type of handcuff. It is not some type of shackle relating to Saturn, although it does represent the aspect of geomagnetic instability. In fact, if you were to go to dying stars within your galaxy, such as dying brown dwarfs in that way, they would appear almost identically to Saturn of how it would appear now. Basically, you can understand that all of the gas giants within your star system have either been the potential to be stars, could not actually become stars due to, again, some particular type of halting relating to their capabilities, or third are representing that of dying stars. So basically you could say that Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus all had the potential to be stars. Of course, Saturn itself was that of a star. Jupiter itself could have been that in regards to a star, but much in regards to its own birthing as a star was put on halt due to the aspect of the takeover. The same goes with Neptune and Uranus. You will notice that looking at these four gas giants, how they are all tilted on particular axes, especially Uranus in regards to a massive tilt. But these all represent basically the aspects of non-potentialized stars or dying stars in that way. So anytime you see a gas giant within your galaxy, as you begin to travel the stars, these all represent the appropriate alchemy in eventually bringing forward stars, should they not be meddled with in that particular way. But again, through the destruction of Meldek that took place, its own gravitational explosion that took place that basically shifted Saturn off its axis and transformed in this particular way, which led to that particular brown dwarf therefore being destroyed. And therefore, what you see right now appears to be a planet. And in the sense it is, because all planets can graduate themselves to a star based upon their own material construction, and in regards to their forms, and in regards to their own gaseous debris, shall we say, and gaseous inheritance, would therefore be able to move into an ascension that would relate to a star. But prior to that ascension, they were planets. Even your sun that you understand today was once a gas giant planet, and therefore reached an ascension, reached a level of alchemy to move itself from a planet into a star. And many of you may say, my goodness, Adronis, is it true that planets like the size of our sun can actually exist? Yes. There are colossal planets, again, something that you may not realize, that are just as large as your sun or even larger. Our own home star of Sirius A was in your ancient past a planet as well. This is all part of a graduating aspect. And of course, our sun is many times the size of your own. So this would fundamentally represent the idea that yes, Saturn was once your star, but is now the result of a dying star relating to much of the disasters that have occurred within your own galactic star system. Again, not always from what you would know as accidental, for everything in that sense does have a reason, but of course, that's a story for another time. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to you all. We will speak to you again, as now as forever. All is one, and love is essence. Goodbye for now. Thank you everybody for tuning in to New Earth Teachings YouTube channel. Please feel free to visit our website, newearthteachings.com. Private sessions, digital courses, blog, free media, and a lot more. Again, newearthteachings.com. Thank you so much, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the next video. Take care.